Ursuline Academy, and welcome to another edition of UA Today. I'm
Good morning,
anchor,
Ursuline Academy, and welcome
Chloe
back
Weaver.
to another edition of UA Today. I'm your anchor,
Today's
Chloe
stories
Weaver.
include some tips for exam week, the saint of the day, the quote of the day, and what sisterhood means to our Ursuline community. Let's jump right in. As we start the holiday season, we all know what follows: exam week. Exam week will start on December 18th. Be sure to check the schedule for dates. Mrs. Caton has given you tips and tools on how to study to do well on your exams. As we reach December, be sure to start studying.
Good morning, Ursuline Academy, and welcome back to another edition of UA Today. I'm your anchor, Chloe Weaver, here with your co-anchor,
Julia Stallbooth,
here to bring you today's news. Just as a sneak peek for what we have in store for you today, we will be talking to you about the sophomore retreat, pro-life march, and even a little bit about the League of Nations. Let's jump right in.
Every year, each class is able to attend a retreat nicely set up by Mrs. Weston, Mrs. Rogan, Mrs. Armbruster, and our other faculty members. The sophomore class eagerly started January 2nd off at 8:30 a.m. in the Ursuline Academy new gym. The class played icebreakers, learned a little bit more about each other, and even had some snacks. Maura Placer shared with us her favorite part of the retreat.
I liked the line game and we learned new things about my class.
The things that we found out about each other varied from meaningful to little fun facts, as in the meaning of a person's name or what event happened in their life that made them them. Not only did we learn things we didn't know before about each other, we even discovered more about ourselves. We played games where we had a short amount of time to tell specific details that happened in your life. As time went by, you had to talk shorter and shorter, which helped you figure out the most important moments. One last thing we learned was that we cannot judge a book by its cover, and also that we can't let standards or others define us in any way. To show this, we played another game in which we chose our favorite jelly bean. Depending on which jelly bean you got, statistics told you what you were like and the things you like to do. Most of the people who read what their color meant did not agree that that's what they were like. But on the other hand, a lot of people did agree with their being. We learned that every person is their own individual and that we never know the full story unless they tell us willingly. Speaking of respecting the individual, let's talk about representing the individual in this next story about the Pro-Life March.
On January 19, 2018, the annual March for Life was held in Washington, D.C. Many schools participate in the march, including Ursuline. In an interview with Ms. Steinhardt, she explained that the girls arrived in D.C. on a bus, along with students from Chaminade. She also explained that the girls stayed in the Crystal Marriott and arrived back to school on Monday. During the march, many people will come together to protest against the unlawful ending of someone's life. Well, it looks like the girls got lucky with the good weather for the march, but let's take a look at today's weather.
Today's weather is going to be a high of 61 and a freezing low of 38. The weather is only getting chillier with each day, so don't forget your hoodies and make sure to wear solid black leggings underneath your skirts for extra warmth. There is also a 0% chance of rain. Now that you know what's going on with our weather today, let's talk about a birthday that's going on.
Today is Alicia Keys' birthday. She was born on January 25th, 1981 in New York City. She is a singer, songwriter, record producer, and activist. She is a 15th time Grammy Award winner, and out of the 291 awards she has been nominated for, she has received 109 of them. She is currently married to Swizz Beatz and has 2 children. Some of her more well-known songs include Girl on Fire, If I Ain't Got You, and Fallen. Her activism for human rights led her to co-found the organization called Keep a Kid Alive in 2003 that continues the global fight against HIV and AIDS. In 2016, she presented the Best Male Video to Calvin Harris at the MTV Music Awards without any makeup, and has been seen on multiple shows such as The Voice without makeup. She continues to fight for equal rights for women and blacks around the world. From one activist to another, here's a look back on the work Martin Luther King did.
Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15, 1929, who grew up to become a civil rights activist during the 1950s and 60s. He fought for the rights for all people, including African Americans, by leading nonviolent protests. Martin helped organize the March on Washington in 1963 to show the importance of civil rights legislation. 250,000 people attended this march and hoped to end segregation in public schools, protection from police abuse, and to get laws passed that would prevent discrimination in employment. It was at this march where Martin gave his most famous speech in history, the I Have a Dream speech. The March on Washington was a great success. A year later, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. On April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated while standing on a balcony of a hotel. He was shot by James Earl, and on this day, Follow now pledged to serve humanity, promote his teachings, and carry forward his legacy into the 21st century. Let's see what the diversity team has to say on this topic.
Firstly, Martin Luther King provided an entire race a voice in America.
He also united Americans to all come together for a peaceful protest.
He advocated peaceful protests in Washington rather than violence.
He gave the civil rights movement a figurehead and a leader to unite.
Today we honor and remember him not just through Martin Luther King Day, but by continuing to work for social justice and by continuing what he started. And then Leadership for Diversity does this through issue seminars, so we hope to see you there. Woo.
Good morning. We're the Leadership for Diversity team.
Next, we'd like to recognize a senior, Allison Coney, who has been awarded the Martin Luther King Jr. Model of Justice Award. Congratulations and great work. Now let's talk about the League of Nations.
On this date in 1919, the League of Nations was founded and they had their first meeting. The League of Nations came about after the end of World War I in 1918 to ensure that the war like that would never happen again. Its goal was to find peaceful solutions to international disputes. Many looked for the League to bring more stability to the world after the huge turmoil that came with the Treaty of Versailles. Although President Woodrow Wilson was a great enthusiast of the League of Nations, the United States never joined due to the conflicting views in the Congress. The League was composed of 4 permanent members and 4 non-permanent members. The 4 permanent members were Great Britain, Italy, France, and Japan. Although the League resolved several disputes over the year, it did not prevent the outbreak of World War II. By the mid-1930s, the League of Nations was consumed by the desire of power and the rise of fascism in Italy and Germany. Nazi Germany withdrew from the League in 1933, and Italy attacked Ethiopia in 1935. The League of Nations officially existed until 1945, when it was overturned by the United Nations.
The United Nations contains nearly 193 members, and together they set up goals to better each country and try to find solutions to international problems. Today, the United Nations has the same goals as the League of Nations. After an interview with Mr. Luperel, a history teacher here at Ursuline, he discussed how similar the United Nations is to the League of Nations. He discussed how the UN was founded after World War II and is an organization that provides a space for countries to come together to discuss differences in certain issues to prevent catastrophic wars. Let's hear what else Mr. Luperel had to say on the subject.
The United Nations also has a number of humanitarian objectives. So when people are in trouble, they try to help, and the United Nations also tries to articulate basic human rights, and they try to make sure that people have those rights around the world when they can. Although some people criticize the UN for not doing enough, and others kind of say that the UN should stick to humanitarian issues.
Now let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. This quote comes from Will Rogers. Will Rogers was a humorist, newspaper columnist, and social commentator. From something inspirational to something celebrated all over the world, let's take a look at today's National Day.
Today's National Day is Fig Newton Day. Fig Newtons came into existence when, in the 19th century, physicians began to promote an increase in biscuits and fruit in one's diet as a remedy for digestive problems. They became a popular food item, and in 1891, Charles Roser invented a machine to insert fig paste into dough. After several business deals, the fig roll became a product of Nabisco, and the name was changed to Fig Newton. So go to your closest market and stock up on these and enjoy.
Next, we have some quick announcements for Splash Week from our Stuco president, Mimi Tope. This year, we will be representing different illnesses and are allowed to dress down. On these days, you are allowed to wear the color of the illness represented with your skirt, and you must bring in a can. You must bring cans to the distribution room and get a wristband before going to your first class. The bubble dance will be held on January 31st from 7 to 9 p.m. and will cost $7 plus a pack of packaged toilet paper. Make sure to invite your girlfriends from other schools.
That's all we have for today. Thanks for watching. We'd like to give a shout out to our lovely teacher, Mrs. Lang, and our crew behind the scenes. Lauren Robinson on teleprompt, Diana as our board op, and Campbell Kennedy as our director and producer. Signing off, I'm your anchor, Julia Stallhuth, here with
Chloe Weaver, reminding you to make the most of your day.